Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. Today we have a new set of crazy stories about crazy people for you to enjoy. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Double my rent? I'll get you in taxes. This is a story about my neighbor. We'll call him Tom. Tom's an older gentleman, super nice and a great neighbor. He's always been a nice guy to us and is the only neighbor who didn't judge us for our lack of religion in a very religious location. Anyway, Tom and his wife have been having it rough on their end because Tom had a back injury that caused him to be unable to work. On top of that, he got the short end of the stick on his disability pay and has been getting standard Social Security without disability until the errors get sorted out. Up until now, Tom's been doing okay by finding low-income housing and doing lots of odd jobs to make up the difference in pay. It's been working for Tom the last few years till a few months ago. A few months ago, Tom's landlord, LL from now on, without any due notice or change of contract, tried to increase Tom's rent by 100%. Tom didn't have the money and had no ability to get that money. It really feels like LL just wants Tom out of there so that he doesn't have to keep the house at disabled housing prices. Well, Tom's told that he's got until next month to figure it out, and that's that. Tom is freaking out, trying to figure out what's going to happen to him and his wife. He's looking for new locations, but due to having found disabled housing previously, he's now at the bottom of the housing list, and there's nowhere in the state that has low enough cost of living. This is because of his Social Security/disability mix-up. Well, luckily, Tom is a very talkative man and shares his stories with just about everyone. His friends have him talk to a lawyer about it because it didn't seem right, and the lawyer starts looking into it. If I remember right, his lawyer was also a friend or was just willing to help out due to circumstances because he didn't really pay them much due to his lack of money. Nice lawyer. The first shining light for Tom was that due to circumstances, he could legally squat in a home for up to 6 months without paying rent because LL was breaking the contract. The next shining light was that even if LL wanted to do something to Tom about that, he would. Turns out the house, according to the city, was a single-family home. Fun fact, the house was converted into a duplex and rented as such for the last 21 years. Yeah, you read that right. 21 years. LL didn't want to go to court for this because he didn't want the city to actually come and inspect his property, so LL was trying to get Tom to leave of his own volition, or on bad terms. LL was sending his daughter down to take pictures of the house and watch it. They were trying to find dirt on Tom so they could use it to evict him before Tom got court papers in order. Luckily, Tom had two things going for him. He had no dirt for LL to find, and all of us loved Tom and felt that LL was an old piece of crap that was trying to take advantage of people. That being said, LL didn't get anything on Tom, and the court date soon came about. The story ends on a bittersweet note. The court ended up ruling in Tom's favor. Tom didn't have to pay any rent for the last 6 months of living in the location, and he owed nothing to LL for any reason. Tom did, however, have to vacate the premises within the next 48 hours or so. That's the bittersweet part. The great part is that now LL has to pay 21 years of back taxes and fees for renting a single-family house out as a duplex, against zoning laws. And I'm pretty sure that on top of that, the court is forcing him to reconvert it back to a single-family home. I've seen renovation crews coming in, tearing all sorts of things down. They may even be getting rid of the house. But that's just conjecture on my part. Either way, it's costing LL $10,000 to $100,000 to sit right with the law, when he could have had a happy tenant for the next 20 years. And our next story. Embarrass and harass me at work? I'll just let you destroy your career. Back in 2009 to 2011, I worked for a state agency at a local office. A new manager came in and immediately set about being awful. Her name was Hannah, and she made it very clear that she was ambitious and was hoping to be promoted in the agency. Hannah was a micromanager, but experience told me that was to be expected in government work. But then she started making suggestions to and advances at me. On one occasion, she walked up behind me and began walking her fingers up and down my back in an extremely inappropriate manner and discussing that maybe we should get together outside of work. After some consideration, I decided to report it to HR. It never really went anywhere, and after a brief conversation with an HR rep, I didn't hear anything further. However, Hannah's attitude toward me completely changed. She started giving me ridiculous and demeaning jobs like collecting staples out of the carpet. She started criticizing me to other employees, and my till started coming up short after I'd counted it when she counted it to verify. She also started coming up with excuses to keep me as late as possible, knowing that I had to leave because I was taking night classes to finish my degree. This all occurred over the space of several months. However, it became clear as the relevant date approached that she had forgotten that one of the first actions she'd taken as manager was to approve my request for a week's vacation. I'd put it in quite early, so all of this had transpired since then. I knew it would inconvenience her on Monday when she realized I wasn't there, and I wanted to see what she'd do. So I made sure to not mention it in the weeks leading up to my vacation week, and certainly not before I left that Friday. As I was in the car the following Friday, returning from visiting family, one of my coworkers texted me. CW, so you quit? Me. No, why? CW, you haven't been to work all week? Me. I'm on vacation. Hannah approved it months ago. CW, she thinks you stopped showing up and she announced that you were fired. Me. Well, I'll be there on Monday with my signed vacation request. Sure enough, I walked in on Monday and everyone but the coworker I texted was shocked. They thought I'd walked out. Better still, Hannah wasn't there. She'd gotten a prestigious assignment to represent the agency at the state fair. My boss, who was there, Rick, did his best to sort out what was going on. He told me to sit in the break room while he figured it out. From the break room, I could hear his side of the phone calls. The most satisfying bit was when he called Hannah. Hannah, you fired a guy last week? Well, he came to work today. He says that he didn't quit. He was out on vacation. Yeah. Hannah, it has your signature on it. I kept my job. Later that week, the regional director called me into a meeting with Hannah where she apologized to me. A little while later, the director transferred me to a different branch a short distance away, which is what I really wanted all along. Coincidentally, my new branch manager was Rick, who was a far better boss. He assured me in a private moment that Hannah had nearly been fired over the illegal termination incident, and her career had been pretty much destroyed by her exposing the agency to a lawsuit and embarrassment. According to LinkedIn, she's still working the same manager job and still hasn't gotten the promotion she was vying for. I'm not sure if we've met before. About a year and a half ago, I went to a bar with some mutual friends. One woman brought her sister, who we'll call Meanie. Meanie seemed to instantly pick me out as her punching bag for the night, interrupting me, talking over me, rolling her eyes at things I said, trying to discredit any point I made, no matter how petty. Classic one-upper, too. I couldn't say anything without her scoffing and coming up with a better story. She relentlessly made fun of me for saying I don't like horror films and kept trying to get my friends to join in. Then even had some ugly words to call me when I went to the bathroom and asked my friends why they'd hang out with me. I didn't bite back because I'd heard Meanie was going through a tough time and probably just wanted someone to take it out on. My friends apologized after that night and said she wouldn't come around again. It was kind of whatever, but also kind of got under my skin. She called me a bee and a slut for nothing. Very, very attention-starved. So a few weeks ago, a year plus after that night, I run into Meanie and her sister at a party. The sister, forgetting about the original night, goes to introduce us when Meanie says we've met before. I very politely said, "No, I've never seen you before. Nice to meet you." And she seemed instantly put off. She insisted we'd met. No, I said, I don't remember you. She got visibly irritated and once again said that we'd met. I went on, "Sorry, I don't recognize. Can you describe the night you think we met?" And watched her fumble trying to describe the night without admitting to being cruel. I cut her off and said, "Yeah, I still don't remember, but it's lovely to meet you. Have a great night." She seemed super pissy about it. I thought it was pretty petty and effective to not give her a drop of the attention/memory she so clearly sought. And our last story. Reception lady thinks my father doesn't know English. My family is Malaysian, and my father worked as a civil engineer, and still is. He led his company's hydro department and was responsible for contracting supplies for his turbine project. Looking for a supplier, a good college friend of his was the managing director of a turbine company based in Texas, and he personally invited my dad to meet and survey some products at his company there for his upcoming hydro project. Now, the thing about my family, and most Malaysians in general, is that we are fluent in English. It's our second language. And with my dad studying engineering in Sutherland for 4 years, I could definitely say his English is way above others. So my father and some of his employees took the trip from Kuala Lumpur to Houston, and the first thing they faced when entering the company's lobby was this American lady at the reception. She looked at my father's Asian complexion and condescendingly tried to take on a stereotypical Asian accent to attempt to communicate with him. My dad's coworkers behind him were all like, "Oh, no, she didn't," and were bracing themselves for the inevitable comeback at this racist remark. Then my dad smugly decided to play along and conversed with her in Asian broken English for roughly 15 minutes just to mess with her. Just as she was reaching her limit with him, the MD, her boss, came down to the lobby and enthusiastically greeted my dad from afar with, "Yo, OP's dad, you made it!" My dad dropped the Asian act and returned his greeting out loud in completely fluent English. Confused and embarrassed, she became speechless, and her face turned bright red in silence at the situation. The MD invites my dad upstairs to his office for the meeting, while my dad's workers were holding in their laughter as they followed him to the upstairs for the meeting. My dad later told his MD friend about the whole situation in the lobby, and the MD profusely apologized for her behavior. But my dad was a good sport and had fun messing with her. Later that month, my dad came back for another meeting and found out that the MD took no excuses from her and fired her that very same week for basically insulting their foreign customers. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.